guys, so while I've had some time, one of the things that I have been trying to do on the channel for my reviews is to go back in time and pick up some books that I meant to read as ARCs and then never was able to get to, because Edelweiss and the publisher were so kind to give them to me, and also there was normally a reason that I wanted to read those books and I wanted to tell you guys about those books, or at least I thought there would be if I read them. And so as you saw maybe last week, I picked up Not Safe for Work, which was a wonderful love letter to women in STEM that also takes place in Hawaii. And then a couple of weeks ago, I also went back for the new Beth O'Leary, Swept Away, which would tell you like how bad my reading has been this year, right? I love Beth O'Leary and I was never able to read that book on time, or at all until months later. And so while things are not slower in my life, but at the very least, like I've basically just like kind of not requested a ton of ARCs or of any ARCs except for Tender Cruelty, which is coming out in December, which you will hear me talk about, the new Katie Roberts. I'm very excited. But I've just realized that I will not be able to have enough time to go back in time to some of the books that I still really wanted to tell you guys about, or hear your thoughts about. And so I thought today I would just pick 5 that I was interested in, but maybe I have questions about, or I'm wondering if you read them, or maybe you missed them too, and just tell you a little bit about them in case you want to tell me something, or maybe you also want to go out and get one of these books from your local bookstore or your local library right now. So the first book that I want to tell you about came out back in May, and it is Courtroom Drama by Neely Chobati Alexander. Now, if you have seen some of my other stuff on the channel, you know that I am really into crime and law and the workings of our justice system. Got my book of law list right there. And so I really was fascinated by the idea of this romance novel, which had a very interesting setting. So let me just read you a little bit from the book itself, since obviously I haven't read it. Legally Blonde and Jury Duty meet the Real Housewives in this high-stakes courtroom love story, a sexy and sweet but heartfelt novel about friendship, romance, and reality television. So this is about Sydney Parks, who is like super soaked to be actually serving jury duty, which is not a feeling I think many of us have ever felt, but she is very excited because a woman named Margot Kish, who is an OG cast member of the hit reality show Authentic Moms of Malibu, which sounds, like this universe's idea of Real Housewives, is on trial for the untimely death of her cast member husband, Joe. And she's like really into the whole like tea of it. She wants to know. And then there is a wrinkle when her childhood best friend, Damon, who she hasn't seen in 10 years, is also placed on this jury. And so it is supposed to be, I guess, a mixture between the trial and what is happening, but also like jurors really aren't supposed to like interact. They aren't supposed to be falling back ? In love. I'm not clear if this is a second chance or not, but obviously there is like supposed to be romance while there's also a murder trial. And that really appealed to me because of who I am as a person. However, I was not able to get to this book obviously when it came out, and as I have gone backwards, I have seen some other people whose reviews that I really respect have kind of like a mixed bag opinion on this book. Some saying that they couldn't really get into the writing style, some people saying that the romance took a backseat to the trial. I don't really know that that would be a problem for me necessarily, but I am so curious with this one because it just ticks a lot of random boxes for me, and I've certainly never seen another romance novel quite like this. If you have read it and want to let me know your thoughts down in the comments about if you think it's worth going back and reading, because it sounds really good and really niche for me, and I really just needed to tell you guys about it. So the next book that I want to tell you about came out back in June, and this is Slow Burn Summer by Josie Silver. The description on this one is a talent agent hires an actress to play the part of novelist on a book tour for his agency's publicity shy client. I, again, really loved this. I have seen other books a little bit like this where like someone is hired to impersonate the actual author themselves and they start falling in love. But in this case, it's the talent agent, Charlie, who has 3 problems: a divorce that ended his screenwriting career, a business he never planned to inherit, and a take your breath away romance novel whose author wants nothing to do with its publication. And then so his publishing company hires Kate, who is recovering from her own divorce, and, you know, is going to pretend to be this romance author. I liked this conceit a little bit more than some of the others that I've seen that play on it, because this book just seems to just be really respecting like that the author just wants nothing to do with this, rather than what I felt like some of those other ones were going to be, which was like kind of forcing that author to maybe come out of their shell if they didn't want to. And in this case, it's just the talent agent guy who hired her and the actress impersonating the romance author, both fresh off their own divorces, which means they're probably hopefully a little bit more older and mature than some romance, which is, you know, just starting to feel a little bit young, like that first love situation. And so they're traveling around, they're talking about romance novels, again, seem to align with a lot of things that I'm really interested in and that I love: romance, the romance publishing industry, romance book fans, and also like authors who have the weird job of like, a writer is generally an introvert, I feel, not always, but like it takes a certain personality to like be able to sit by yourself and write for hours upon hours upon hours. And then publishing companies are like, go and do publicity. It's like, guys, this is like a group of people who probably really doesn't want to do that. So this just seemed really interesting. Again, I have seen some mixed reviews on this one since it has come out in June. So if you have read it and you have feelings, let us all know down in the comments. Because yeah, this one just seemed really fun and something that would, again, definitely be interesting to me to go back to if it's worth doing that. The next book I want to talk about is Well, Actually by Maisie Eddings. This is a book where Eva Kitt never expected to be the host of Sausage Talk, interviewing B-list celebrities over lukewarm hot dogs instead of pursuing the journalism career she dreamed of. But when Eva's impromptu public call out of her college ex goes viral, she's thrust into the spotlight. It doesn't help that said ex is Riley Cooper, a beloved social media personality that has built a platform on deconstructing toxic masculinity and teaching men how to be good partners. So in order to make up for this, he says that he will take her on a series of dates, and he will like either like make up for his behavior, maybe they'll fall in love, like whatever. What I really liked about this one is that I do see a lot of romance novels where it really feels like maybe the male lead in particular is like performing feminism, or like, oh yeah, like I totally get why you as a woman like might feel that way or whatever. And this seemed like a book where something like there is a guy who maybe did something, or maybe it wasn't, we don't know, I don't know, I actually did, in his past, and he's like tried to maybe learn from that and do something with a platform to like help men in general be better, and having to like maybe talk through some of that stuff seemed really interesting. I do have some issues with the like date in public. Like that's happened in a bunch of romance novels that I've read, and sometimes for me it just feels like very awkward or cringy. It feels very uncomfortable to me because I would not want like any part of my dating life to be publicized. So I think that's why originally I was a little resistant to it. It originally came out in August, and at the time I was getting set up for the new semester, and I was like, I'm just not really sure about this one. If you have read this, I would love to know if it does in fact talk about the themes that I thought it may talk about. If you've read it, does it do it well? Does it do it poorly? I would be so curious if you have read it, if you think that it's worth me going back to it. Or, you know, if you're a very intrepid fan, if you would like to go read this and then get back to me and let me know, that would be super great, because I think there's a lot of possibilities with this book that I think could be done very interesting and very well. And again, hopefully I'll be able to see for myself. But, you know, the TBR has an order, guys, and I have to figure out what to do with that. Another book that I want to highlight is The Battle of the Bookshops by Poppy Alexander. This is a charming literary themed novel about a young woman determined to save her great aunt's beloved bookshop from extinction by the shiny new competition, which also happens to be run by the handsome son of her family's rivals. So we have bookstores, obviously. That's something that was like sounded really fun to me. And also there does seem to be like some like Romeo and Juliet punning going on in here, like in the town. You know, the woman who the female lead in this one is Jules Capelthorne, which does sound like Juliet Capulet. And then the dude is the insufferable Roman Montagu. Who the heck knows? I didn't read it. I've certainly read a few books that have a very similar conceit. It's not always bookshops. Sometimes it's diners or coffee shops or restaurants or whatever. I appreciated the literary puns aspect. That seemed really funny as someone who reads a lot of literature generally, or I did once upon a time. So again, it just seemed like, you know, like the scrappy, you know, girl from the family run store and like the posh, like, you know, we've all read this one before, but it is evergreen and it seemed very adorable. However, I did feel like I had read this one before, so when it came down to it, when this came out in August, again, I was setting it for the semester and I had some other things that I needed to read for the channel, so I was like, I'm gonna read those instead. They seem a little bit more fresh. And then again, the reviews that have come out since then from the people that I trust have been a little mixed. And so while I think that this might be funny for the bit, and I've also been playing a lot of Tiny Bookshop on my Switch, I'm not sure if maybe this is the exact right one for this, but it sounds so good, and I will excuse a lot for a really, really good pun. So again, if you've read this, if you are at all interested in it, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think, because I love a pun and I love a bookstore. What can I say? So this last one just came out last month in October, and I am genuinely mad that I did not get around to it before my ARC expired. I already have this on hold at the library, so I will say that this one probably you have a higher chance of seeing than all of the others. But this is Isn't It Obvious by Rachel Runyon Katz. After a meat disaster, a podcaster and her producer fall in love over email without realizing they know and hate each other in real life. When a high school librarian, ding ding ding, librarians, Yael's secret podcast starts to take off, she decides to hire Kevin, a remote freelance editor/producer, so she can manage juggling her mental health, day job, and the queer teen book club she's been hosting at school after hours. To maintain her anonymity, they communicate strictly via email, and Kevin only knows her by her podcast persona, Elle. Little does Elle know that Kevin, who in real life goes by his middle name Ravi, is the same man she tore apart for climbing out her bedroom window after a one-night stand with her roommate Charlie. And she certainly never expects him to show up to volunteer at her book club. In person, Yael and Ravi clash until their sparks turn into something more. Over email, Elle and Kevin are starting to fall hard when they decide to keep things strictly professional. But when Ravi discovers the truth, will keeping it a secret mean the end of everything he's built? And what happens when she finds out? Will they fall twice as hard or cut ties in more ways than one? And I wanted to just like kind of read you that whole thing because there is so much in that speaks to me. I love, and again, I know this is a trope, right? But like two people who like hate each other in real life, or like texting or emailing or sending letters or whatever, and they fall in love kind of with that persona. But I also just love that in real life, when they're also hating on each other, they're also running a queer teen book club. Like, it just really, there's a lot in here that really speaks to me about the conceit as well, and like these people who maybe don't get along in real life but are also trying to like do these good things in something that's very meaningful to me. And I do love the kind of like epistolary falling in love. I will say that one of the reasons that with my kind of mental health in this spiral that it is a little bit, one of the things that I hate is when information is withheld. And so I got to the end of that description and I was just like, oh, is this a book that's just going to cause me a lot of anxiety? Like, how long does Ravi know? Like, I could just like already see myself just being like very uncomfortable and anxious for part of this book. So I just really need someone to tell me exactly how long he knows and how long that takes to resolve, because I feel like this is definitely a book that I could really get into. And this is one of those books where they're probably doing more talking than kissing, right? Because they're falling in love, kind of in an like online sense. I know that in the reviews that I've seen has some people have been like, this is like really slow and a lot of talking, but like I really love that in a romance novel when done correctly. So again, I like really wish I could have gotten this review out to you guys on time. But I did not want to spend another second not telling you about it in case you also missed it. And in case anyone can tell me how long I'm going to be anxious for when I do read this. Because again, it's already on hold from my local library because the ARCs do expire when the book is published. So I'm waiting, and hopefully I will be able to turn this around and give you a full book review. But the line is long, and I'm happy to see that for this book. I'm happy for this author. But I need to know, how long does he know? Anyway, now you all know about 5 more books than maybe you did before. Maybe you've read some of these, maybe you've heard about them, but these were 5 books that I missed for a variety of reasons throughout the mid part of 2025 that I wanted to tell you guys about, in case you missed them, but also in case you can help me reposition them on my TBR, because I'm really trying to get back into reading. This is something I really enjoy that I'm not doing, and that makes me sad. So help a friend out, and I will see you guys next time, hopefully with a whole read book. We'll see. Thanks, guys. Bye.